The woman who once owned half of Manhattan now stood in a public restroom at 2 a.m., staring at her reflection in a cracked mirror, mascara streaked down her hollow cheeks, wondering if anyone would even notice if she disappeared. Victoria Chen had lost everything in 72 hours. Her hedge fund empire, built over 15 relentless years, had collapsed like a house of cards when her business partner fled the country with their clients' money, leaving her holding the bag. The lawsuits came swift and merciless. The media painted her as a villain. Her penthouse, her cars, her reputation, all gone. But what broke her wasn't the money or the mansions. It was the silence. Every call went to voicemail. Every friend vanished. The man she thought she'd marry sent divorce papers while she was still being interrogated by federal investigators. She had become invisible, a ghost haunting her own life. She had checked into this rundown motel on the outskirts of the city, with the last $200 to her name. And tonight, staring at the sleeping pills in her trembling hand, she had convinced herself that the world would be better off without the person everyone now called a fraud. The weight of shame felt heavier than any burden she'd ever carried in her corner office on the 52nd floor. If you believe in second chances, in the power of human kindness to transform lives, please hit that like button and subscribe to Kindness. Share this story with someone who needs hope today, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Let's build a global community of compassion right here. Victoria stumbled out of her motel room at 3 in the morning, unable to breathe within those four walls anymore. The October air bit at her skin through the thin cardigan that used to be just something she threw on for coffee runs. Back when coffee came from a personal barista and not a gas station, she walked without direction through empty streets, past closed storefronts and flickering streetlights, until she found herself standing outside a 24-hour diner that had seen better decades. Through the grease-stained window, she could see it was nearly empty. She had no appetite, but something about the warm light pulled her inside, away from the darkness she'd been planning to embrace. The place smelled like burnt coffee and fryer oil, and the vinyl booths were patched with duct tape. She slid into a corner seat and ordered nothing, just asked for water. The waitress, too tired to care, brought it without question. That's when she noticed him. A man in his late 30s, wearing a maintenance uniform with a name tag that read Marcus, was methodically mopping the floor near the kitchen entrance. What struck her wasn't his presence, but his method. He moved with deliberate care, cleaning each section as if it mattered, as if this linoleum floor in a forgotten diner was worth his very best effort. A small boy, no older than 7, sat at the counter doing homework in a worn notebook, occasionally glancing up at his father with pure adoration. The child's backpack had been repaired multiple times with different colored patches, but it was clean and organized. Victoria watched as Marcus paused his mopping every few minutes to check on his son, to encourage him, to ruffle his hair with such tenderness that it made her chest ache. She overheard their conversation when Marcus took a short break. The boy asked if they could get new sneakers soon because his were getting tight. Marcus knelt down to his son's eye level, and his words carried across the empty diner with crystal clarity. He told his boy that new shoes were coming, absolutely, but that first they were saving for something more important, for the school trip to the science museum that his son had been dreaming about for months. He explained that they were a team, and teams made sacrifices for each other's dreams. The way the little boy hugged his father, completely satisfied with that answer, completely secure in his father's love despite their obvious financial struggles, cracked something open inside Victoria's chest. Marcus returned to his work, and Victoria found herself unable to look away. Here was a man who had every reason to be bitter, working a night shift as a janitor while raising a child alone, yet he moved through the world with dignity and purpose. When he finished his section, he noticed a ketchup spill near Victoria's booth. As he approached to clean it, he caught her eye and smiled. It wasn't a smile of pity or judgment, despite her obvious distress. It was a smile of simple human recognition, one soul acknowledging another. She don't know what compelled her, but she spoke. Her voice came out broken and raw as she asked him a question that had been tearing her apart. How do you keep going when everything falls apart? How do you find meaning when you've lost everything that defined you? Marcus paused his cleaning and pulled up a chair without asking, something that would have been unthinkable in her old world but felt perfectly natural here. He told her his story in simple, honest words. 3 years ago, his wife died from cancer, leaving him with their son and medical debt that stretched into 6 figures. He lost their home, his job as a graphic designer, and nearly lost his will to live. He had stood exactly where Victoria was standing now, on the edge of giving up. But his son needed him, and in that need, he found something profound. He discovered that worth isn't measured in what you own or what title you hold. It's measured in the quiet moments when you choose to show up, to try again, to extend kindness even when the world has been cruel to you. Marcus shared how he had started this janitor job feeling humiliated, a failed artist, reduced to cleaning other people's messes. But then his son told him something that changed everything. His boy said that his daddy had the most important job in the world because he made places clean and safe for people, including for him while he did homework. That child's perspective transformed shame into purpose. Marcus realized that there is profound dignity in any honest work done with integrity, and that the love he poured into raising his son mattered more than any career achievement ever could. He looked directly at Victoria with eyes that had seen their own darkness and found light again. He told her that hitting bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation from which you rebuild something real. The person you become after losing everything is often more authentic than the person who had it all. He said that she was still here, still breathing, and that meant her story wasn't over. Every ending is just a different kind of beginning. If this story is touching your heart, if Marcus's words are resonating with something deep inside you, please don't scroll past without engaging. Leave a comment, hit that like button, share this with someone who feels lost right now. Your engagement helps spread these stories of hope to people who desperately need them. Victoria sat in that booth long after Marcus returned to his work, tears streaming freely down her face for the first time since her world collapsed. But these tears felt different. They weren't tears of despair, but of release, of possibility. She watched Marcus help his son pack up his homework, watched them leave together, hand in hand. The boy chattering excitedly about a science project while his father listened with complete attention despite his obvious exhaustion. Before we continue to the ending, please comment below and tell us, have you ever been helped by an unexpected act of kindness? We'd love to hear your story. She stayed until dawn broke through the diner windows, and for the first time in weeks, she felt something other than crushing shame. She felt the faint stirring of hope. Victoria didn't know what her future held. She didn't know how she'd rebuild, or what form that rebuilding would take, but she knew she wouldn't take those pills. She knew she'd face another day. Sometimes salvation doesn't come from grand gestures or powerful interventions. Sometimes it comes from a night shift janitor who takes 5 minutes to remind a stranger that their life still has value, that dignity isn't found in wealth or status, but in how we treat each other and ourselves when everything else is stripped away. Marcus had given her something more valuable than all the money she'd lost. He'd given her a reason to believe that she could become someone worth being again. Not because of what she owned, but because of who she chose to be from this moment forward. And that gift, offered freely from someone who had so little yet understood so much, changed everything.